I've been to every ballpark throughout the country, and I've gotten racism everywhere I've gone. I got one cousin who says, "No, you're fifth generation," and then my other one saying, "You're fourth generation."
Okay.
I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm here, and I'm American. I can't even think I'm Chinese just because I speak English. If you're not here for that purpose of taking the best photos, don't get in it. AAPI, that whole idea of what it is about. Are we just getting clumped in together? I think we're all getting clumped in together as one Tong. So I really want our next Shohei to be a American Asian.
Welcome to The Tiger in the Room. My name is Hannah, and I'll be your host. We are a podcast series that is here to talk about the current and ongoing national crisis of anti-Asian hate crimes. A lot of us first heard about anti-Asian hate in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. We believe that hate against Asians and Asian Americans is not just seen in acts of violence. It is also seen when our community is silenced, invisibilized, and erased. We plan to talk about the challenges that modern-day Asian Americans face every day, whether it's in the workplace, in public, in media, and so on. We also talk to the organizers, activists, and change makers who are fighting for our community and fighting for change. We hope you'll join us. They want us to fight instead of unify. Today we're coming to you from the iconic Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles to welcome a truly special guest, Jon SooHoo, the longtime official team photographer for the Los Angeles Dodgers. For over 40 years, Jon has captured some of Major League Baseball's most iconic moments. But beyond the highlights, his work tells a deeper story of legacy, emotion, and history, all quietly documented from behind the lens. What stood out in our conversation was Jon's perspective on race. He believes good work should speak for itself and has never allowed race to define or limit his path. Hearing that from someone who's built a decades-long career in a space where Asian Americans are still few and far between gave me pause. Most guests on the show, up until now, have centered identity in their journey, but Jon offered something different. A reminder that power can come from simply doing the work, with humility, consistency, and quiet excellence. It challenged us how we think about visibility, identity, and belonging, and we're honored to share it with you today. Welcome back to another episode of The Tiger in the Room. I'm very excited today to have a very special guest with us, Jon SooHoo, who is the first official Asian American team photographer for the Major League Baseball in his 41st season with the LA Dodgers. So Jon, thank you so much for being here. We're truly honored to have you on our show today.
Thank you for having me. It's been an interesting journey, and then to see you guys on Instagram was pretty cool. So it's like, all right, well, I could do this.
Yeah, just for context for our listeners, that's how we got connected through Instagram. And I was asking you about this a little bit beforehand, but how did you get connected with us, or how did you hear about us?
Perry from Warrior, Perry Young.
Perry Young, yes.
Perry Young.
Yes.
I follow him because I followed Warrior for the last 5 years since COVID. And when I saw he did something with you, and the fact that your name is Tiger in the room, I'm a Tiger, and I thought, you know what, this is pretty natural. It'd be pretty cool to to keep up with this.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess you're a big fan of Warrior.
Huge fan.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I first started, seeing it, and right when COVID started, it was kind of like in the house, and it came on. Actually, a friend told me about it. His name is Ross Yoshida. He actually works at the stadium, and he was saying, "Yeah, just check out Warrior. It's it's from the writings of Bruce Lee." And I remember all that time of David Carradine doing Kung Fu, and then that being Bruce Lee's. That was his project. That should have been him in that role, and then he got disappointed by going to somebody else, and so. I just stored it in the back of my mind, and then when Warrior came out, it's like, whoa, this is pretty cool. Then I started watching, and it's like, I'm sold.
Yeah. Too bad they didn't get renewed for a fourth season.
Well, I mean, if you're as in depth as the watchers like I am of it, I don't know how they could continue. I mean, the different characters get like stabbed off, and I don't know,
right?
When a brother and sister come together, it's like, what do they do from there? I mean, who could write the fan fiction on that?
Yeah, that is a good point. I remember when we had Perry on the show, we were talking about hopes for a future season, but it seems like the story writing kind of was going in a different direction.
I don't want to get too much into the story, but it was such a fun thing to watch, and then I keep on watching it over and over just to feel inspired, just to keep up out here in the world. So
yeah,
it's pretty amazing how a lot of it is connects to the real world of government and money and the involvement of what controls what.
Absolutely. That's actually a really good foray into a question I wanted to ask you. So your grandfather, Peter SooHoo, is credited as the co-founder of the new Chinatown here in LA. And there's a very long history behind that where my understanding is the Chinatown here in LA has gone through multiple iterations. The old Chinatown was essentially obliterated for the construction of Union Station. And your grandfather very cleverly started a corporation to purchase land to create a new Chinatown, because back then the Chinese could not legally own land here.
Correct.
So that essentially saved the Chinatown here. And it's not very far from Dodger Stadium,
Correct.
As I understand. That history, how much of that were you told about that growing up as a child? And also just some of the more, I would say, violent events that kind of led to some of those things that, in terms of what happened to the Chinese here.
As a kid growing up, you don't hear any of this stuff. I mean, we're talking 60s and 70s. Everything's perfect on TV. You got 3 channels to watch. You don't see whatever violence has happened or is happening. You don't see it. We saw those 3 channels, ABC, CBS, and NBC. They put out their stuff they want us to watch, and we watch it. And so I never was really in tune to any of this until COVID hit. And then we start seeing more social media of Asians getting beat up on, and then, China flu, and then you hear all the words that get all, that were getting us beaten up or killed, that now, instead of just seeing those 3 channels that didn't show it, you're seeing every episode, every event of somebody getting, beat up, murdered. To this day, it's still happening.
Yeah. What was your experience growing up? You're fourth generation Angeleno.
It's hard to say because I got one cousin who says, "No, you're 5th generation," and then my other one saying, "You're 4th generation." I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm here and I'm American. I can't even think I'm Chinese just because I speak English. I do speak English. I don't have any other language. I cuss better in American English than I do in Chinese because I'm not Chinese. I don't feel the Chinese blood like like you would feel Korean being from Korea or having Korean parents. First generation that speak all the time. My parents spoke English. I mean, their parents spoke English. So it's hard to say what generation I really kind of am.
So let's say 4th or 5th.
Okay.
So 4th. No, that is a very important distinction because I think you're right. Like in the East Coast, we do have, I think, immigrant generations that are closer to the original immigrants who came here. So there may be a more sense of being closer to our roots and being more maybe culturally, Korean, Chinese, or whatever it is, while balancing the Americanness. But you being more multi-generational, I'm just curious, what role did, representation play for you?
It wasn't a confrontational. It was a, hey, let's go to China. We're going to have dinner in Chinatown at Limehouse. We're going to eat, go down and have, we'll go to the cemetery and visit your late relatives. We'd have family functions during Chinese New Year, during birthday celebrations. So it's kind of like a very normal American childhood. I mean, childhood. I didn't really have any reason to think anything bad was happening because nothing was in my face like we see now today on our phones.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And you also mentioned, I did read in a previous interview, your parents took you to ball games growing up as well. That's where it sparked an early interest in photography. Yeah. My mom and dad, I was a USC. My dad was a USC alum. And so we went to USC football games at the Coliseum. They had season tickets there, and we'd sit and watch USC football teams that were really good at the time, and it was just amazing to see all this happiness between wearing cardinal and gold and going to these games. And my dad was huge into sports. I'd go play basketball with him and his friends on Saturdays at Marshall High School or Silver Lake Playground, and it was just with sports always in our lives, and so that was a big segue into, my interest in finding a way to get down on the field to shoot football games, and taking pictures of was that avenue. Yeah, and so when you started out, I can imagine there probably weren't many Asian Americans around at the time when you were getting your start in the photography world. At any point, was there a moment in your career where your identity as an Asian American stood out to you as a factor in how you were going down this career?
I don't think it is that dramatic as you'd think. I mean, everything on the field at any of these games that I was going to as a student were everybody was a mutt. I mean, everybody was all different kind of colors. It wasn't just white people on the sidelines. There were Asian, blacks, Mexicans. Everybody was on the field with cameras shooting, and no one was really concerned about race. You're concerned about being in focus because everything was manual.
Right.
So it was different. Everybody's trying to get a great picture, trying not to get, try to be on deadline, try to make newspaper, deadlines because there wasn't social media back in the day. So it was for print.
So is it kind of more of a recent thing now where, because I do see you're getting a lot of recognition now for being like the first?
Well, as a general sports photographer shooting USC games and football and whatever, there were a lot more Asians out there at the time, but I'm the first one that has been representing a team in Major League Baseball as their team photographer.
Got it.
So it's kind of just a wordy thing, like, I don't think of it as me being here because of my Asianness. I'm here because I'm qualified to do what I do.
Right.
And so I never thought of it as being, but now I could, ride that that wave of being, hey, okay, I'll be the first one.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
It's pretty cool, but I think the key is whether my images are any good or not. If they suck, then I don't want to be the first of anything.
Let's talk about, so the Dodgers, they've been known for having a history of breaking racial barriers. Jackie Robinson was the first player of color to be signed to a major league with the then Brooklyn Dodgers. And now you have a roster that's just stacked with international players from Asia, Shohei Ohtani being, the ultimately considered the face of the sport. How does having more international players coming on, we are a show that talks about the idea of representation and how, our community historically has not been, very well represented in some of these types of major institutions. But in your experience, like being on the front lines, seeing all these international players coming on and kind of sort of revolutionizing a sport that's historically not been always the most diverse, what are the kind of changes that you've noticed in terms of, how the media or the fans perceive them? Do you notice any differences in like how their successes or failures get perceived?
Shohei is just an incredible man. He's just an incredible beast to me. He's a heck of a player. He's incredible what he does. And he just, the excitement that comes with it is just phenomenal. And the acceptance that has been, by fans and by the media has made it even more exciting. But to this day, I'm still waiting for an American Asian to come through like a LeBron James, to have our version of LeBron James. We'll get more acceptance when we start performing better. We don't have it in the NBA because we're not there yet. Or we haven't had a chance yet. Jeremy Lin did not have a full-on chance, I don't believe. But when that day comes, when we have somebody in baseball that is, Tommy Edman is phenomenal, Asian American, Stephen Kwan in Cleveland. All the play, we're coming up. It's coming. It is coming. It's just not here yet. And so the other races that have been here is because they're qualified to be here. And so with Shohei being here, I think that helps. We had Hideo Nomo first that came in. We had Chinatown Park first. So it's not. I don't think they're just looking for race. They're looking for players that can perform. And so we've had guys that can kick some ass while they play here.
How important is that distinction to you in terms of having an Asian American athlete versus an athlete from Asia? Because I don't think we often talk about that distinction enough as a community.
Well, it gets confusing because, AAPI, that whole idea of what it is about, are we just getting clumped in together? I think we're all getting clumped in together as one tong. Think about it. We get jammed into this whole thing and they call it a month. And it's like, wait a minute. Shohei's from Asia. But is it Asian American? Because I always thought it was supposed to be American Asian. That was what we're celebrating. And then I realized it was just Asian to begin with. And then all the hate that's going on, it's like, all right, we'll just clump us all together. That's fine. Because I'd rather that than not being completely excluded.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I think at times because maybe Asian American public figures have not really been given a platform just yet. We haven't had many, right, in the sporting world. Jeremy Lin is honestly the one person I think has mainstream recognition in the 21st century, that it kind of almost seems Shohei, like we can get behind Shohei because the media's already embraced Shohei, and the rest of us are like, okay, that's as good as we're gonna get, But I agree with you that there is a distinction, though, at the end of the day, having someone born and raised here, is American versus, maybe somebody from Asia who represents his culture very well, but Asian American culture is a very different thing.
Well, it's been in many other different races that have come over to our country, but I mean, everybody else is represented. We have Shohei that just is the most outstanding. He's the LeBron James of MLB. I mean, granted, Aaron Judge is for the Yankees, and he takes care of what his ethnicity is, but it's still amazing just because he's such a performer, and it comes through every night. That's why we had like 2 weekends in a row of straight network baseball on TV. I mean, it's just because our guys are pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So as a follow up to that, do you notice whether the international players that come over here, do you find that they're actually changing baseball culture here out in the States, or do you think they're actually conforming more to it? Or is it maybe a little bit of both?
Honestly, haven't even noticed. It's perform or don't perform. You don't perform, you're not here. And so
that's fair.
Our players are, I mean, everybody's players are, if you're not here to perform, it's not going to be race-based. It's going to be if you're not hitting, or if you're not pitching, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do to make the team shine, you're not going to be here. So I don't think it matters about race. It just matters about, performance.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a fair point. Okay. So let's shift a little bit back to you and your career. So sports media historically hasn't always been the most diverse, as well as a lot of other institutions out there. So I'm just curious, have you ever felt pressure to conform to a certain image to be taken seriously? I know you've mentioned a few times it's about the quality of the work, but the fact that being the only Asian American in spaces like this, I'm just curious if there were things that you noticed in your career where you may have felt the need to perform to a different standard.
Not really. I haven't really noticed any of that. In the photo world, there's so many other photographers that are shooting. I mean, right now we have an extra probably 15, 20 media members from Japan. 10 are photography wells that I set them up for, and then they're in the press box. And I don't know, at Dodger Stadium, there's every color here. I mean, there's every color of the rainbow, and it's wonderful to have that kind of acceptance.
Yeah, that's great. I did hear in an interview with Tom Girl podcast, I believe, you mentioned though you had mentors in your life like Andrew Bernstein who encouraged you to maybe at times push back against certain behaviors that you might have felt came from growing up culturally Asian.
The only person I would remember who had really given me any kind of real incentive to fight back was Herb Scharfman. Herb Scharfman was a Sports Illustrated photographer. He was in Vero Beach at spring training for the O'Malleys back in the day, and he was not saying it from a racial standpoint, but he was always told me, don't take shit from anybody. So that was everybody. So that means every color. So that kind of gave me some idea to, harden up a little bit. I don't have to be so submissive like, Asians are, Americans are especially. I mean, we all want to lay low and not get, beat up. And but he was always the one to say, don't take crap from anybody. So
do you feel that there are many who look up to you because you are the first as the official team photographer? Like, are there many people who kind of? Well,
I hope they look up to me because I'm 6'2", not because.
That's true, literally.
The job is the job. I hope they look at me from the personality standpoint instead of the professional standpoint. I do try to be as helpful as everybody as possible. Every team coming in, every other organization coming in with other needs that my role here is to be like the greeter at Walmart. It's like, how can I help you? Get a shot you need, or these are the regulations that you have here. So it's never been if kids look up to me, that's great. If they don't, they don't. But I'm just going to be me, and that's not going to change whether they do or not.
Yeah. Have you gotten any sort of feedback from like people in the community just saying like they can see themselves in a career like yours because they see people like you succeeding in it, or even just seeing like people like Shohei, Tommy Edman, Haesung Kim, who are rising up or who are very big out here. Like, just curious, like from the local community here.
For race or for professional, what I do for a living, or because they're performers, they're performing. I'm.
That's a good point. Yeah. So, maybe for your for career wise,
Career-wise, I mean, the key here is that, everybody with a phone is a photographer. So
that's a good point.
It's not like a lot of money unless you're actually paid out of the gate. There's not a lot of money in it. So if you're not in it because you want to take the best photographs in your own, from your skill set, if you're not here for that purpose of taking the best photos, don't get in it. This is not a highly rewarding career at this point because there's so many people doing it that are oversaturating the market with images that are just sometimes just shit.
Yeah. How do you deal with social media now? Obviously wasn't a thing like 40 years ago, but how do you contend with it?
It's kind of what's called symbiotic in that it is without social media. My outlets were the Dodgers program, the Dodgers yearbook, maybe a handful of newspapers once in a while, but no one ever saw my images because it was black and white prints or it was a color slide. There was no outlet. Social media has made it where anything I shot historically is tremendous now. Everybody sees what I shot of Eric Karros and his kids that were little kids now that are coming up through the minor league ranks, and it's pretty cool that people get excited by the generational view that I have of seeing everybody's families and grow.
Does it make it easier for people to dig up older images as well because you have been archiving or, essentially posting a lot of these images on your own feed?
I gotta believe it's something that everybody that has, family members that does Christmas, photos in the morning of families, whatever, what like my family did. I mean, that was kind of a huge thing. And so I think for everybody to see that their own images of their own lives are as relevant as my images are of this. So it's just these are memories that that should endear everybody to their own families and their own histories.
Have the fans become more? I think I know the answer to this, but have the fans become more international as well? The ones who respond to your images, or
Well, I mean, I had a huge jump when Shohei signed, and we went to Korea for the last year. My Instagram's doubled.
Okay.
Between Korean fans and Japanese fans, and it's a big number has because of Japanese followers. So I'll take it. I understand what they're saying. Thank goodness there's a translation underneath. It's like a push and see what they're saying. And it's all complimentary. They love Shohei. They love every part of this organization, between the Kikes and the Kershaws and all the different people we have. You have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's
I heard of Kershaw. I do know Kershaws. Yeah.
Well, we have a huge following, and so I know the Dodger fans of all colors who love what I do because it's specifically catered to them. The social media that's here, this catered for the movement of the organization. I'm more catered towards the player behind the scenes stuff that they're not necessarily going to see that unless social shows it to them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Do you find that looking through your archive, are there specific images of particular Asian players? Mentioning Asian players because that's what we're about, but any specific images of those players or even the fans that you feel captures something larger about, the Asian American experience?
It's a hard one for me because I know as a Chinese American, be going to Chinatown a lot. We don't have a lot of representation here because there's not a lot of togetherness to want to come to a game per se. The Japanese have Japanese night here because they come out and they buy tickets. They want to see everything going on here. Tonight's Filipino night, and so we have a huge Filipino. And each group is represented, but it's hard because the Chinese have not. There's nobody there to like organize it. Hey, let's get a group of 30,000 people or 20,000 people that want to buy 10,000 people that want to buy tickets to a Dodger game.
Okay.
Because there's no. I mean, between LA Chinatown and the San Gabriel Valley, and then you have all the different areas of Chinese people that are everywhere. It's not like one big clump that everybody's in Chinatown.
Right.
So there's not that connection anymore. But I do notice as we get more Japanese players, more Japanese fans come.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of like comes with the territory.
I'm actually curious about that because I'm not as familiar with how the different Asian communities interact over here. I think in New York City, there is definitely a coexistence among the different Asian communities, like the Chinese live here, Koreans. But for the most part, I think there is, if something happened to, let's say, an Asian American like we saw in 2020, I think you would see kind of like a widespread like solidarity among those communities. Out here, like what is that like here?
You're seeing it from a being in the city perspective. I'm seeing it from a media perspective. When you see it on TV, if you don't see it on TV, people aren't going to know about it. And so anything that's been put up there on TV is what's going to be exaggerated, or it's going to be more visible. Us fighting our little fight is all, a great idea, but I don't think it's going to have the same effect as putting it on a network TV that we're never going to get on.
That's interesting. And is that mainly because the communities are just like so far apart from each other, or like it's just like
the Asian communities, or the rest of the world?
The Asian communities. Yeah.
It's everybody has their own lives. Everybody has their own here.
Okay.
So I don't think it's really as contentious.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what it is. Each group has their. I mean, as an American, I see myself more as an American than I see myself as a Chinese. So how am I hanging down in Chinatown when I'm hungry? And I'll leave. So it's not like there's a big gathering of of rebels going to go fight a cause.
Sure.
Because everybody's got their own little world, especially this city is so spread out.
How involved are you with, I guess, like the Chinatown of today?
So I was the Grand Marshal of the parade of LA
Chinatown
last month. And they asked, whenever I could do events, but I'm here 24 hours a day, feels like. And then I go on the road. And then so this is, it's from February until like late October, hopefully. So that's a lot of time to be putting in. I don't have a lot of extra time to spend doing anything.
I see.
So I don't have a lot of full involvement into the Chinese community, like that. If they want me to, when I'm down the road, when I have time, when God forbid I have to retire, but I don't plan on retiring anytime soon.
Is there something symbolic to you though about the role that your grandfather played in founding the new Chinatown, and the fact it's not far from Dodger Stadium, which has been like your home for the last 41 seasons. I mean, do you think about that at all?
I think about it a lot. And back in 2011, my dad's funeral memorial was held here at the Stadium Club right over there.
Oh, wow.
And all my Chinese relatives and all of his friends came to the funeral. I'm not the funeral, the memorial for him. And at the buffet, there were Dodger dogs. And I've never seen so many Chinese people taking Dodger dogs home with them because I never had them before.
Wow.
So there was no connection between Chinatown, which is right down the hill, to the Dodger Stadium.
Okay. Had most of them never even been to the stadium before?
They've never been to a game before.
Wow, okay.
So it's kind of, my relatives, sure, but like it's funny, all the little aunties and old aunties and uncles that were like, my dad's age were like, this is pretty cool.
Let's take 20 to go home.
I did. That's a Chinese thing.
No. Koreans do it too, believe me. I think it's an Asian thing, but yeah. I grew up in Flushing, and so Citi Field was kind of in my backyard, but I didn't grow up going to ball games. None of my family members really knew much about baseball. But now, I'm a supporter of the Mets. And I think thanks to social media, thanks to representation, things are probably changing now. But just curious, like if you've ever thought about how it could be interesting, growing up near some of these big stadiums where this is like America's pastime, and yet we live here, and yet some of us can grow up not even really understanding like the thrill of going to a ball game and participating in these things.
For me, I was introduced by my grandma had just passed away in 1971. And my neighbors, Ross and Stan Lake, knew I was kind of down. I was a little kid back then, and they said, "Hey, you want to come to a game with us?" So I was like, okay. My mom and dad said, sure, let them go to a game with. And so we sat right there in the bleachers right over there.
Okay.
And that was my first Dodger game back in 1970 as a fan, understanding that this was a pretty cool thing. And then as I got more involved, I started coming to games, a lot more growing up. And so I think it's just a matter of what you're introduced to. I mean, you live right by the tennis center. How many times have you been to Wimbledon or US Open?
Once, and I was in my early 30s.
Right. So, I mean, it's just a matter of what you're getting introduced to. I mean, I didn't even know Korean food was good until, maybe, 10, 15 years ago when Chan-ho Park became with us.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's a matter of what you're introduced to. I mean, this whole city has so much to offer. And it's, Pupusa is one of my favorite food Now it's one of my favorite poops. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just life. So you get introduced to what you get introduced to. And I take each day as a valuable experience, no matter what it is. And I'm going to try your banchan place too when I get a chance to.
Yeah.
It always comes back to food for me. So
yeah, that's definitely for sure. I mean, I'm assuming maybe the food offerings in the stadium have maybe also
it's changed quite a bit.
Has it? Okay.
And in the last 10 years, I've stopped eating beef, chicken, and pork. So I don't eat Dodger dogs anymore. I don't eat half the things that are being sold here. And now we have all kinds of stuff. The food providers are like phenomenal. They do sushi, they do Korean food, they do. I mean, they're doing everything, just to try to touch every different culture. And I think it's amazing. I can't eat most of it, but I do believe it's here for the fans, taking if they're ready to go.
We kind of touched a little bit on this like in previous questions, but what does like heritage mean to you, like personally and professionally? Considering the longstanding history you have with the Dodgers organization and being, fourth, fifth generation Angeleno, and also just the history of your family's ties with like the local Chinese community here.
I have to look in the mirror to realize more that I'm, this is what I look like and this is what I am. And so when I come to the job, I don't necessarily see that. I see me having to get my job done and me, saying hi to everybody and getting along with everybody. The heritage part comes into play when I see when I see the hysteria on news or social media about something happening to somebody else, and it becomes more important when I see that and realize, hey, that pertains to all of us. I mean, everybody has their own version of heritage. So I don't know if I'm very proud of my family existence, and I'm proud that my grandfather had a huge play in Los Angeles. But I also, love the fact that my father worked at the Department of Water and Power for 50 years and was able to put 4 kids through college. And so I don't look at it as grand scale. I look at more micro of my family's existence more than it is about all the heritage parts. So I'm proud of all that, but that's all like gobbledygook compared to the real world that I live in.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I think sometimes I think it could be interesting how our existence can be just told through like what our family has done, and not always see kind of like maybe potentially like how it fits in the grander communal narrative. I think especially like as Asian Americans, I think 2020 was a real turning point in that, where I think a lot of us started to understand the collectivism of the experiences that we go through, which at the time was the rise of anti-Asian hate crimes. But prior to that, like I would argue, a lot of us probably were just kind of like getting by, do a good job, go to work, take care of your family, and that's kind of it. But I think that's changing, at least from what I'm seeing, because there's now this understanding that things happen to us collectively, and we kind of need to start recognizing the similarities there.
It hasn't been a 41 years worth of unexciting moments here. I mean, I've been to every ballpark throughout the country, and I've gotten racism everywhere I've gone. So believe it or not, every ballpark I've gone to, I've gotten, look, Asian with a camera. I mean, you name the joke, it's coming. You name I've gotten it in Arizona. I mean, I've gotten Florida. I mean, it's just all the different, hotbeds. And the whole idea is either to get combative, which I don't. Most of us don't, because we're in the moment. We're at a ballpark, something's happening, and you just walk away from it. And so a lot of times it's just we just swallow it. It's just been part of. I know confronting it is going to get me in hot water, not the person that's providing the hate. So you tell me where to draw that line. And it's like, I'm not going to cross that line. I'm not going to fight somebody in the stands because of something they say. Now, if they spin on me, that's a little different. If they get anything violent, that's a little different. But any kind of words are like, I got to let it roll off because I have a job to do.
Sure.
No one's going to give a shit about it. So I'm going to take care of what I need to take care of and move on to the next day. And
Yeah.
I know I've been given a gift of love from God to have all this great living. And so, you know what? I'm not going to look for a fight based on, what one idiot says.
Yeah.
That's an insecure idiot, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Does that still happen today?
Yeah, every day.
Does it really?
Yeah, not with the hate. I mean, my notoriety as the Dodger guy and my social media has made me more acceptable, because for every one that would say something, there'll be 10 that say, hey, you're wrong.
In the early days when that was happening, how did you sort of navigate that?
I just watch my back. I'd be conscientious of walking around anywhere. I mean, granted, I was insulated pretty nicely here because there was no one at the stadium. It was just ball games going on, and everything was COVID related. Everybody had a mask on, and when I walked down in the South Bay, you put a hat on, glasses, and a mask. They can't tell you're Asian.
That's true. Yeah, that is.
So that was kind of a bonus part right there back about COVID. So
yeah. Do you, if you're comfortable sharing this, do you ever see that same sentiment ever directed towards some of the players as well?
I have not personally seen that, and I only saw what was on TV. Stephen Kwan taking some crap back in New York. It was a Yankee game, and there was some racial stuff being said his way, and his teammates came to support him. And so that was like, I mean, I saw him last week for like a wave, but I didn't get a chance to talk to him. But I'm sure it's out there.
It's out there,
especially now more than ever. I mean, you just people popping off at will. No problem now.
Did you have any thoughts when, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but when Stephen Smith made that comment about Shohei who not being able to be the face of the sport because he needed an interpreter. I know it was very controversial out on the East Coast when he said that, because it was interpreted as him saying essentially someone with an Asian face can't represent the sport. I think what he really meant was they would really like someone who spoke English, but do you have thoughts on that, or were you there when that happened?
Sports figures. I mean, like sports talk radio, which I mean, I love like a lot of the guys that do it, but because I know them personally, I don't listen to what they say either. I mean, I just let stuff. I don't watch TV like probably a lot of sports fans do because I'm here till 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and so the effect of whatever he said. I mean, I don't know. I don't give it. I don't even think about it.
Yeah, like he'll show you on the field.
Pretty much. I mean, he just does what he does, and it's not going to hurt Shohei's performance because Stephen Smith said that. But whatever. I mean, just whatever people say, whatever they want to say.
I think that's a great approach to it. I think instead of getting combative, like you said, you got to just kind of prove the haters or prove the naysayers, right?
Well, you can get all stirred up on social media by watching it for an hour anyway. So why not just like turn it off and realize he's gonna knock a home run over the wall probably later today, So
I know you mentioned a few times, it's about the work, but I think the fact that we do have a lot more acknowledgement of diversity now makes it a very exciting time for even someone like me on the East Coast to know, wow, there's an Asian American team photographer in the MLB. I didn't even know we didn't have any before. Do you find that there is more kind of like an expectation put on you to now have to like really represent the community, even though I know you're saying like, look, it's about whether it's good or whether the work is good or not. But I'm just curious, like with a lot of more people mentioning the special role that you have right now in the MLB, do you find that there is like a responsibility you carry in representing that?
Integrity kind of matters. The closest time I get to being controversial or hateful is when I'm driving on the 405 or the 110, and then it becomes, I don't know if it's a racial thing or not, but I have to behave accordingly. I mean, I'm professional, but enough to know what lines to step over and when not to. So it's just a growing as a human being, not necessarily because of my skin color, but I just take it with a grain of salt. Just be a good guy, and be accepting to everyone, which I am anyway. Yeah. So it really shouldn't be that. It's not really much of a stretch.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for Asian Americans who would consider a career in just sports operations or behind the scenes roles in sports, and may not know exactly how to break into that industry?
It's a pretty cool industry, but it's a very competitive industry, and you got to be passionate about it, because if you're not, you're just wasting time. No one's going to give you anything, but I got to believe integrity matters more than anything. And so photographers are known to be, kind of snobby, arrogant. I didn't go to photography school. I went to USC, which is a different kind of snobbery, but it was an education in life more than, just don't be a dick.
Right. Treat people well.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of mutual respect for everybody. And if you got to cross the line, it's because your ego is bigger than probably your skills are.
Yeah. And mentorship, I would imagine, or being guided by
mentors. It depends on who has what time to do that kind of mentoring. And so I know that my time here, as you'll see when we go down there, there's not other places you can go that I get to go that you're not going to be able to go to. But it's to mentor anybody would have to have like time and off. Like people here out mentor, they have people, interns come hang out with them all day in their offices, and they go home at 9 o'clock. My office is down there. No one's really allowed to be down there unless you're credentialed properly.
I see.
And then my area is even more exclusive because I'm actually in the clubhouse.
I see.
And so it's just a matter of having time to do it, and those off free time that is very unusual. I don't have very much free time.
I think though, having or hearing people like you in the public sphere still talking about your experiences is still valuable for anybody who may be, pondering a career in this space or never even thought about it before. So even if they couldn't receive that sort of personalized advice, I think it's still helpful to see it.
Well, anybody reaching out on Instagram that has a message or question, I've been more than willing to answer, because that seems to be the best platform. I don't answer my cell phones anymore. I mean, if I don't have the number, I don't answer. The less messages are all kind of, fake anyway. So I can't trust anybody at this point. And so if your Instagram is probably the closest thing to being my way of messaging with people anyway. So
right.
That's how I do it at this point.
That's good to know. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely share your handle.
Great.
We'll let people know.
Excellent.
They can share. Are there any stories that have, stayed with you the most deeply from your time, from your long storied history with the Dodgers?
Tommy Lasorda was our manager, and back in the earlier days of when I got to go out, there's a thing called batting practice, and then before batting practice is early hitting. And so I'd get to go out there in shorts and Dodger shirt and go shag flies in the outfield. Hideo Nomo just signed with us, and we were in St. Louis, 1,000 degrees, it's humid, everybody's sweating, it's disgusting, and early hitting has just ended, and Tommy and I are walking off the field, all the players are walking the field. And this reporter comes up to me, because this was Hideo Nomo's first year, and she goes, "Can we do interview with you?" And I'm looking at her like I know she thinks I'm him.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
And then Tommy stepped in and said, so he interpreted it for her. Qu'est-ce que c'est to me? Qu'est-ce que c'est? I'm like, wait a minute. And I interview, and I said, later. So I told her to. And so I was like, come on, St. Louis. I mean, I'm sure it must be the first Asian they've seen there. Come on, this is 1994. Okay. I mean, come on. It was just hilarious. Like, Tommy and I were walking off laughing after that. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah. I mean, was it flattering?
It was hilarious because it was just stupid. Because just do a little history, a little research before you start coming up to the guy, looking like skin and bones for an interview because he thinks you're the player. Like,
right. That is hilarious. I heard Jeremy Lin used to get mistaken as like a Knicks staff member, but when you said
it would surprise me if you're not wearing a credential, you're not going to get in. And that's the same kind of thing some of our players still probably get hit with now. I mean,
right.
So.
Yeah, that is hilarious. But okay, no, that's funny. But most people didn't know that. What is one thing you love about being Asian American?
First off, I'm happy to be alive. Honestly, in the skin that I'm in, it's just. It means a lot, saying that it needs to mean a lot in that aspect. But as far as all the different issues that are happening to us, it just makes me more aware to keep my eyes open at all times about what's behind me and who might be behind me. And I'm sure there's a paranoia that comes with being an Asian American now, and I still wear it, and I still carry that with me. So that is the down part of it, like having to be aware. But you would have to be aware that being a female, you have to be aware of that being, a trans or gay or whatever, you'd have to have that, your eyes behind your back ready to go anyway. So I kind of take that all with a grain of salt that, okay, now I'm being labeled, now I got to be careful. I think being from LA and knowing that there's so many different cultures here, I'm glad I'm Asian American. I'm also glad to be an Asian American that has enjoyed all the cultures of food that have in Los Angeles, and I can enjoy that more culture. I enjoy that food more because I'm more daring, more willing to try other different Asian cultures. Food.
Yeah.
So that's probably more of it than anything. The fact that I feel accepting because of my Asianness, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the food scene is quite strong out here.
Out here, it's tremendous. I mean, I keep hearing the best Chinese food is not in China. It's here in Chinatown, San Gabriel Valley. Some of the best foods over there.
So I feel the same about Korean food, and I'll probably get in trouble with some hometown friends for saying that because we're very proud of it.
Hey, they would eat there too if they were here.
They would.
So there you go.
I will give that one to LA. It's better out
the
here.
palate talks.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Jon, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. I know that there were some things you mentioned that maybe some people hadn't heard about before, as well from your, particular vantage point of being who you are and being in the spaces that you're in. But I think hearing even those insights for people in our own community is always not just interesting and helpful for them to hear, but I think also inspiring because I think there are things unique to who we are as individuals, as Asian Americans. I think culturally we're not always taught to vocalize these things out loud. But I think when you do hear other people talking about it, it can make you realize that, we're not alone necessarily in these experiences. So.
Who doesn't want to just lay low, be unnoticed, and be left alone, just want to get on with our lives. And so it's all of our goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. It keeps you out of trouble too, I'm sure.
If so, I mean, after ball games, by the time the bus gets back to the hotels, it's already midnight. Mm-hmm. I'm already ready for bed. I mean, it's not. I'm gonna stay up on my computer for another 3-4 hours, but there's no going out like there was back in the 80s and 90s. It's shutting it down. So if I get in trouble, it's from being in the hotel, I guess. But that's,
Got it. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine. It's a physical.
It's all day long. I mean, it's an all day affair. So I mean. And it's just part of the gig, but it's a good run. Yeah,
sounds good. But we wish you the best of luck in everything. And I know we're representing the East Coast out here, but go Dodgers for
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, just trying to play nice here.
I appreciate that. But it's funny how sports does that.
I will just say, like, I definitely started paying more attention when I heard about Shohei being signed. Channel Park was actually quite a big deal for the Koreans.
Oh, absolutely. When we were there last year in Korea, he threw out the first pitch and he wore a Dodger half and a Padre half. We were playing against the Padres. They played for both teams. Yeah. And so he wore a uniform to throw out the first pitch, and he's Jackie Robinson. I mean, he's like the first guy over here, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember growing up when he was signed, there were like H Mart calendars with like his picture on it, and it was a big deal for the Korean community.
Well, I'm excited to hear about H Mart to begin with. I never knew about it until he. Actually, it's more like when Hyun Jin Ryu was with us.
Okay.
And then going there to just grab food to eat is like go. It's like I love it.
No, H Mart's awesome. It's like a gigantic Costco for Asian groceries.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I definitely started paying a lot more attention when Tommy Edman, I've also been following, obviously Shohei, but just seeing a roster full of Asian players I thought was really, really cool. And even for people like me who maybe don't follow baseball all year round, I think the power of representation it's always very inspiring to see.
Well, when that line could be deciphered about what is AAPI and what that means, because like I said, I really want our next Shohei to be a American Asian that would be able to light it up and have the marketing tools behind him that would send him on his way, that would be as impressive for the American Asian child that's in Gardena and San Gabriel Valley that doesn't necessarily see that.